evening, folks. Hope everyone is well. I bring you another PolyD video. So this is of interest to anyone that owns a PolyD or is thinking about owning a PolyD. The PolyD is a paraphonic synthesizer made by Behringer, very much as a, let's say, an homage to a Moog synthesizer. It has 4 voices, so we can play chords, but it only has one filter and then one envelope generator. See my previous video where we go into that in far too much detail. See, in that previous video I showed you a nice little hack where you could turn that multi-trigger on or off without using software, so I thought that, you know, that could be useful. So I thought what I'd be making is a video saying here's how you change the MIDI channel using a similar kind of hack. That's the video I wanted to make. However, you know, that seems useful. I want to change the MIDI channel. You know, my controller's on channel 12. I don't want to change that. I want to set this to be on channel 12 so I can play that with my controller. That seems like a useful use case. Now, I've looked at the manual. I've looked online. I can't see a way to change the MIDI channel on this without using some kind of, you know, a computer attached to it. Do correct me if I'm wrong. If you know a way to do this, do let me know. I mean, there's all these nice buttons here for the sequencer. It would have been, to me, it would just seem sensible to at least have one of those, even if it's a shift function, to be like, set, you know, turn it on, press that, then press a key, you know, that's channel 1, that's channel 2, that's channel 3, that's etc. That would seem to make sense, but as far as I know, that isn't the case. Do let me know in the comments if I am wrong. So I'll show you how to change the channel using the app. Now, the smart people out there will go, but you can use system exclusive messages. Yes, you can. And I'll put that in my cheat sheet. But obviously, you still need to attach a computer to it to send the SysX message. So it's tricky to get around that need to have a computer close by. So if you're gigging this, you know, just make sure you set it up to you know, to the channels that you need for the gig, because you might not, you know, you might not necessarily have a laptop and SynthTribe or some kind of SysX software floating around. Okay, so I'll just show you on the SynthTribe how you do it. Interestingly, we can set the transmit and the receive to different channels, so I can send it, you know, MIDI data on channel 11. And as I understand it, but if I press a key, I can send back MIDI information on a different channel. We'll test that, and then we'll do a second video where we look at this as a MIDI controller and see if that kind of makes sense. Okay, let's go. All right, SynthTribe is just loading up here. There we go. PolyD, get started. Happy days. PolyD detected. Now, I've got a bit of an older version of SynthTribe on Mac, but I'm seeing, yeah, here we go. So multi-trigger, we talked about this in the last video. So if you get this new, the default value is channel 1, both MIDI in, MIDI out channel 1, which is fine. Now, that might not suit people's setups because, you know, they might have something reserved onto channel 1. I know in another video someone made a point that I think the Volca sample was you know, hardwired into channels 1 to 6. So if you don't know, so if you've got a Volca sample involved in your setup, you don't necessarily want to have, you know, your synthesizers on channel 1. Let's do, I don't know, in 2, out 3. Let's try that. Okay, so if I'm in like Reaper here, I need to send data to it on channel 2. But when I play the keyboard, again, using it, you know, back into Reaper, that's going to come in on 3. Let's try that. Now, weirdly with this, there isn't a kind of, you know, you change this and go. So as far as I can understand it, that's done it. I mean, we can go back, get started, Okay, this is on 2, this is on 3. So, I mean, you know, essentially that's it. That's the video, right? We will just test. Alrighty, we are in a Reaper. So what we got going on? I've got a little sequencer set up here. The sequencer Mega Baby. Now routing. So I've got my PolyDs attached by USB. So Reaper goes, yep, I can see that. Happy days. And what did we say? We said it's going to take data in on channel 2. Channel 2. Here we go. You can hear this. Does it work? And we have got a bit of delay and reverb from the lexicon. That sounds okay. I'm just going to put on the synth. I'm just going to put it onto mono mode. Yeah. Does sound good, doesn't it? Does sound good. Very nice indeed. And obviously, you know, we could arm a track, and you know, we could record that in. He said. There we go. Happy days. We could, you know, have a nice little loop on the go there. Mute that. Oh, you won't be able to hear this because it'll mess up with my microphone. But there we go. So nice little recording of the PolyD into Reaper, sending to the channel 2. Now let's unarm that, unmute that. Let's just say, oh, channel 12. Right. Let's send it to. Now, we shouldn't hear anything. Oh, let's go back. Good. We don't hear anything because the synth is like, well, I'm expecting data on channel 2, not channel 12. Now, we said channel 3 to transmit. I'm assuming if I set this to channel 3, we don't hear anything. We don't hear anything, as we would expect, because it really says I want data on channel 2. So back to channel 2, and there we go. Lovely, lovely, lovely. So that works. Happy days. Okay, let's test the transmitting MIDI from the Model D. I've got an instance of Surge on the go with the preset Yeti Funeral. I want to know, how did the Yeti die? I am intrigued. How do we set this up? We would go down, which is this track here. Yeti. There we go. Input MIDI. And the Model D isn't there. Okay. MIDI devices, Behringer PolyD enabled. Sorry, that's MIDI output. MIDI in disabled. Here we go. Enable control messages. Let's revisit control messages in a later video. Whoops. No. Come on, Mark, you can do this. Right, here we go. So that's how you enable MIDI in Reaper for all those that want to follow along at home. So what did we say? Channel 3. And we're going to arm that, and we're going to do that. So now when I press something on the keyboard, we should hear that. Let's come out of screen recording and back onto the cam for this next bit. Okay, so I have muted the audio on the PolyD, so we won't hear anything. We are going to hear the audio out of Reaper, where I've set up that instance of Yeti Funeral. Let's just press this so you can hear that. Do we hear the Yeti Funeral? I'm just gonna look. I'm just gonna make sure. I'm just gonna go back to Reaper to make. Yeah, that's what Yeti Funeral sounds like. Okay, so the mod wheel is affecting skew H control on Surge. Possibly though that's because Surge doesn't have a dedicated mod wheel input. So if we had like pigments here, that who knows? We could try pitch. And just to convince you I'm not lying to you, let's take one of the pluck presets, Freedom Fries, which sounds like this. Cool. So that works. So remember, we're sending data to it on channel 2, with it's sending data on channel 3. So that might be useful in the studio setup where you want to play, say, like a software instrument with that. Then you want to send data to that as well as part of, I don't know, part of a live setup or just tracking or whatever. I don't know if that's good to have the send and receive on different channels. I mean, yeah, possibly. I mean, it's more potentially that's more confusing, isn't it? You've got to then hold those two values in your head, like, oh, what channel is it on? What channel is it on to send? And I don't know. Anyway, it works. It works. It works. So what we could probably do is if we fire up another, let's go back to pads, flux capacitor. So we can hear, so let's hear Surge. Let's also hear the PolyD. Let's turn that up. So potentially we can have some kind of monster pad, you know, bit of software, bit of hardware. Not terrible, not terrible. I mean, you'd want to sort of play with your, you know, the settings on your hardware synth and the sort of the software instruments you wanted to play, but you could have some fun with that. Yeah, again, as a live performance thing, big fat sort of sounds. All right, that works. Let's call it a day. So that's changing the MIDI channel on the PolyD. You kind of have to get a computer involved. If anyone knows another way to do it, do let me know. Okay, see you in the next one. Ta-ra, bye, 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 bye. Just as a little coder, I fired up polyKB, which is a bit of a more of a sort of standard sort of setup here with a mod wheel and the pitch wheel. And if I move the mod wheel, there you can see, yeah, lovely. If I move the pitch wheel, yeah, happy days. And you know, here's an interesting use case. So I've set up a sequence patch on the polyKB and on the PolyD. Let's put it into poly mode, so then we can have like the sequencing effect of polyKB and the nice fat analog sound of the PolyD. So that might be something you want to play with.